Imagine waking up tomorrow, not in another country, not in another century, but on a completely different Earth. An Earth where humans never existed. No cities, no roads, no farms, no countries, no languages, no internet, no history, nothing. Just a planet quietly orbiting the sun exactly as it has for billions of years. And at first, that sounds surprisingly easy to imagine. Most people picture endless forests, crystal clear oceans, animals roaming freely across untouched landscapes. A world finally allowed to heal. In fact, many people assume Earth without humans would simply be Earth at its best: cleaner, safer, more natural, case closed. But here's the strange part: that assumption isn't necessarily true. Because once you remove humans from history, you don't just erase civilization, you erase one of the most powerful forces the planet has ever experienced. And the Earth that remains isn't simply a cleaner version of ours, it's a completely different world. A world that would surprise almost everyone. Let's start with the obvious. Without humans, there are no cities, no New York, no Tokyo, no Cairo, no London, no Jakarta, no skyscrapers piercing the clouds, no highways stretching across continents, no airports, no bridges, no ports, no power lines. Entire regions currently covered by concrete would still be wilderness. Manhattan would be forest. Dubai would be desert. Los Angeles would be coastal scrubland. Huge portions of Europe would remain covered by ancient woodland. The Amazon would likely be larger. Wetlands would dominate regions that humans drained centuries ago. At first glance, it sounds beautiful. And honestly, it probably would be. But beauty isn't the same thing as peace, because nature has never been peaceful. Humans often imagine wilderness as a place of balance, a place where everything works perfectly together, a kind of natural paradise. But nature doesn't actually work that way. Nature is competition, nature is adaptation, nature is survival. Every forest is a battlefield, every ocean is a struggle, every ecosystem is a constantly changing experiment. Species rise, species fall, predators hunt, prey escape, some survive, most don't. The natural world isn't a peaceful garden. It's an endless process of change. And without humans, that process would continue exactly as before, perhaps even more aggressively. Consider North America. Today, much of the continent is covered by agriculture, suburbs, and infrastructure. Without humans, enormous herds of grazing animals would dominate the landscape. Millions of bison could roam across the plains. Not thousands, millions. Forests would stretch across regions that are currently farmland. Predators would follow the food. Wolves would control vast territories. Bears would occupy wilderness areas measured not in kilometers, but in entire ecosystems. And that's just one continent. Across Africa, Asia, and Europe, large predators would remain among the dominant forces shaping life. The world would feel bigger, wilder, less predictable, and far more dangerous. Of course, that raises another question. If humans never appeared, what would become the smartest animal on Earth? Most people immediately think of dolphins. Others suggest chimpanzees. Some point to elephants. Maybe octopuses. And they're all reasonable answers. These animals are undeniably intelligent. They solve problems, they communicate, they remember, they learn, but intelligence alone doesn't create civilization. That's something humans often overlook. A dolphin can understand complex relationships. An octopus can solve puzzles. A raven can plan ahead. Yet, none of them build cities. None of them write books. None of them launch spacecraft. Because intelligence is only part of the equation. To create civilization, a species needs the right environment, the right anatomy, the right social structure, and perhaps most importantly, the right sequence of incredibly unlikely events. Without those factors, intelligence remains intelligence. Nothing more. Which means Earth might spend millions of additional years without producing another technological species. Perhaps hundreds of millions. Perhaps forever. And that leads to an even stranger possibility. The planet might remain completely silent. Not physically silent. Animals would still call, waves would still crash, thunder would still echo across the sky, but intellectually silent. No mathematics, no astronomy, no philosophy, no science, no questions, no answers, just life existing without ever understanding itself. Now here's where things become unexpectedly complicated. Many species that humans helped destroy would likely survive, but many species that humans helped create would never exist at all. Take dogs. Dogs aren't simply wild animals. They're the result of thousands of years of partnership between wolves and humans. Without humans, there are no dogs, only wolves. The animal sleeping on millions of couches around the world today never appears. The same is true for countless domesticated species. Cats, cattle, horses, goats, chickens, entire branches of life's history disappear before they ever begin. These animals exist because humans exist. Remove one, and you remove the other. It's easy to forget how deeply connected evolution can become, but the story becomes even more surprising when we look at extinction. People often describe humans as Earth's greatest destroyers, and to be fair, we've contributed to the disappearance of many species. But extinction didn't begin with us. In fact, extinction is one of the oldest processes on Earth. More than 99% of all species that have ever existed are already gone. Think about that for a moment. Almost everything that has ever lived has disappeared. The dinosaurs, the giant marine reptiles, the trilobites, the countless creatures that once dominated ancient oceans and forests, all gone. Long before humans arrived, nature constantly experiments, and most experiments fail. That's how evolution works. It creates, tests, removes, repeats, again and again. Humans didn't invent extinction. We simply became unusually effective at accelerating it. But here's the twist. Without humans, some species alive today might already be extinct. Certain animals survive only because people decided they were worth saving. Protected habitats, conservation programs, wildlife reserves, captive breeding efforts. None of these exist in a human-free world. Nature makes the decisions instead. And nature can be remarkably unforgiving, which brings us to perhaps the strangest consequence of all. Without humans, Earth becomes invisible. Not invisible in the literal sense. The planet would still orbit the sun, the oceans would still reflect sunlight, the forests would still grow, but invisible in another way. For most of Earth's history, nobody knew Earth existed. Mountains formed, continents drifted, volcanoes erupted, ice ages came and went, stars exploded in distant galaxies, and absolutely nobody noticed. Then something extraordinary happened. A species evolved that could ask questions. Questions about itself. Questions about the universe. Questions about existence. For the first time in Earth's history, part of the planet became aware of the planet. A collection of atoms organized itself into something capable of curiosity, and curiosity changed everything. Suddenly there were maps, observatories, telescopes, mathematics, stories, science, civilizations. Not because Earth changed, but because something on Earth started paying attention. Without humans, that moment never happens. The stars remain unexplained. The oceans remain unnamed. The mountains remain unmeasured. The universe remains unobserved. And perhaps that's the biggest misunderstanding in this entire thought experiment. People often ask whether Earth would be better without humans. But better for whom? The forests don't care. The rivers don't care. The mountains don't care. Nature doesn't measure success or failure. It doesn't judge. It doesn't compare. It simply exists. The concept of better is itself a human invention. Without humans, there is no audience to appreciate the beauty of a sunset. No poet to describe it, no scientist to study it, no child to stare at the stars and wonder what's beyond them. The world continues. Magnificent. Wild. Unimaginably complex. Yet, completely unaware of itself. So what would happen if humans never existed? Cities would never rise. History would never begin. Dogs would never become dogs. The night sky would remain a mystery. And Earth would continue its journey through space exactly as it always has. The remarkable thing isn't that Earth could survive without us. Of course it could. Earth survived asteroid impacts, supervolcanoes, mass extinctions, ice ages, continental collisions. Humanity is not the first challenge this planet has faced, and it certainly won't be the last. The remarkable thing is something else entirely. For a brief moment in cosmic history, the universe produced a species capable of asking questions about the universe itself. A species capable of wondering what would happen if it never existed. And if humans never evolved, there would be no one left to ask that question. And perhaps that's the strangest answer of all. What about you? Do you think Earth would truly be better without humans? Or would something important be missing? Let me know in the comments.